Hi, my name is Matthew Ventures, and I am one half of Black Vein Productions, the other half being the venerable Scott Mulligan, who portrays Adam Verdu in No Stranger. And I recently we were just in a meeting together, me and Scott, and Scott presented an awesome review of an ad campaign we did, talking about revenue and retention, and I was just really inspired by that, and we have some concrete ideas on what we're going to be doing to fix NSA Intern to make it better for the players and from a business standpoint. And then I came across this question on a Facebook group I'm part of by Steven Bradkovich asking for advice regarding Google Play ad campaigns. So I took his post, I broke it down into three questions, which I put in this text document here, along with some bullet points of what I'd want to address. And essentially, this video is going to be a tutorial talking about revenue, talking about retention, and everything we've learned along the way. So let me pull up a little notepad here so we can just cover the topics in a line one by one. So the first thing I want to say is a little bit about us. So Black Vein Productions is a small indie company. We don't have a huge budget, so if you're an indie developer starting out or this is your first game, we were in the exact same boat in only a few years ago. So No Stranger was our first game, and this is a game with over 1 million downloads now, and we've also won a design award for that game. And then NSA Intern is a game which we're actively working on. We're actively working on No Stranger 2. I'm actually doing an update to it this week. However, NSA Intern is a game that, it certainly doesn't have 1 million downloads. It's got like 2,000 downloads. But I think sometimes people see No Stranger and they see like, oh, it's finished. Like, I just want to make a game that achieves that right away. And I think sometimes they overlook the process it takes to get there. So NSA Intern is certainly in the process. It needs a lot of work, and it's something that we're looking at. So I think it has a lot of potential to show as an example and what we're learning along the way. So the next thing I want to talk about is revenue and retention. So revenue, basically there's two kinds of revenue. There's IAP and then there's ads. IAP stands for in-app purchases, meaning anything that the player buys in your game if they're spending real money. So this could be buying gems in the game, to unlock a mission or to the future level to get the cool to get your V-Bucks in Fortnite or something like that. That's an IAP. And then ads, there's a ton of different kinds of ads, banner ads, interstitial ads, rewarded videos, but they're basically the only way that we can monetize a free-to-play player. So if someone's not going to be spending money in your game, they might be interested in doing a rewarded video, or maybe you just force them with a pop-up ad of some sort. These are the ways that you would monetize the free-to-play users. And the reason why retention is a really important part of this discussion is because the free-to-play runway, however long the person who's not paying any money in your game is going to stay there, is going to directly affect how much money you're going to make, right? So if they see an ad every day and they're in your game one day versus 10 days, well, 10 days they're going to see 10 more ads, right? So that's 10 times the amount of revenue it would make per ads. So retention is just as important a part of the discussion when it comes to the free-to-play economy. And a common way to talk about retention is D1, D7, D30. This is a day 1 retention, day 7 retention, day 30 retention. These terms can mean different things. Usually D1 means how many people played the game the day after they downloaded it. D7 means how many people played it on the 7th day. But it could also mean how many people played it on the 7th to Infinity Day. So if they played it on the 8th day, they'll be counted in D7. And then it could also mean how many people played it on D1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So it's like a rolling retention. But we'll just say D7 is how many people play it on day 7. And then I think it's important to note, too, that the question Steven asked, he's talking about two different kinds of ads. He's talking about ads that are used to download our game, so ads that we're showing other people to say, hey, come check out our game. But we're also talking about ads today regarding ads that we might show inside of our game to generate revenue for those free-to-play players. So we're showing ads to make money, and we're also purchasing ads to get downloads. So two sides of the ad there. Okay, awesome. So let's jump into the first question, which is Google Play worth the effort? And if not, is there a better alternative for reaching people with my Android game? So what I'd like to do is jump right into the results of our ad campaign, which we recently ran, talking about the value of the data. So here's an ad campaign which we recently ran for No Stranger, for NSA Intern, and this is just a breakdown that Scott put together for us. So, I messed that up. Oh no, I messed up my little bar here. Oh, there we go. So we did ad campaign 1, where we spent about $200 with an average cost per conversion of 17 cents. I'll show you this in AdMob later. And about 1,000 conversions. And then we spent an additional $70 on ad campaign 2. We were working with different creatives here, so we had video 1 and video 2. We found that video 2 had a little bit higher cost per conversion. However, what's important to note here is this is really not a lot of data. Okay, when you're doing any of these kind of experiments, you really do need a large volume in order to start seeing results that you can reliably trust. And I think for an ad campaign, they say a minimum of $1,000 is needed to be sure you're looking at the right numbers. Now, that's nothing for a big company, right? But to just come out of my pocket, that's a lot of money for us. So we're not working with that high amount of money. But I think what you'll see is that we can still derive a lot of value even from a lower budget campaign of only a few $100. So what we did here was we so we have a revenue breakdown, but I just want to direct your attention to the bottom of this page here. We just sort of summarized our numbers, and then we compared them against the averages within the Android industry and the iOS industry. It's important to segment those because users of iOS devices are typically more affluent. There's a lot less people on iOS, however, they tend to have more money. So when you're looking at iOS users, you're typically going to see that the cost to get a download on iOS is a little bit higher, but the average revenue per iOS user and their, let's say, likelihood to make a purchase is going to also be higher. Also, an important note here is that often when we're talking about users, we talk about them in different cohorts. Cohort just means group, and that's usually by region. So there are things called T1 regions, Tier 1 regions, where the users are typically a little more affluent. This could be a country like the United States or Canada or Saudi Arabia, where they have a lot more money, versus a country where they don't have as much money. They're less likely to make a purchase in your game. Okay, so what we did was we summarized our numbers here, right? And we saw we spent $270. We earned $150, right? So clearly we're losing money here, but we are gaining a lot of valuable insights with respect to the data. So we found that our cost per install at this rate, given the small sample size, was about 18 cents, which was a really good sign for us because I think that's a good sign for our creatives and our ad campaign because it is below the industry average. We saw it was $1.50 below. However, some parts where we're really hurting are our D1 retention, which right now is around 11%, way below the sort of gold standard of 40. When it comes to retention, the sort of guiding metric is 40, 20, 10 for D1, D7, and D30 retention respectively. What that means is 40% of players should be coming back on the next day. About 20% of players should be coming back 7 days later. And if you're golden, about 10% of players should be staying about a month after they downloaded your game. So those are sort of the perfect metrics that we're trying to aspire to. And unfortunately, we're really far from the mark. Even the D1 retention is pretty low, so this is something that we're actively looking at and trying to improve. And then the other thing is the average revenue per user with respect to ads. Unfortunately, it's really low for us right now. We're just not effectively showing ads in our game. We're not showing enough ads compared to our competitors. So we are losing out on a lot of money there. So what this was able to show us, if the point hasn't gotten across, is that even though we didn't make a lot of money from this ad campaign, we earned a tremendous value in the form of information, learning what we need to work on in order to improve. And so that's something to consider when you're determining whether it's worth the effort to create an ad campaign, more so perhaps, certainly when you're starting out, more so perhaps than the actual value of how much revenue you make net. Other things to consider are there's a variety of ways that you can show ads. So it's not just Google Ads. There's also social media like Facebook, Instagram, sites like that. And then you could actually go to providers directly. So this is maybe getting away a little bit from the point, but when it comes to showing ads in your game, what's most common is for you to integrate with something called an ad mediator. So there are ad providers, and then there are ad mediators. An ad provider is a company that shows ads in your game. They basically have, people are paying them to show them ads. So this might be someone like Google AdMob, though they're also a mediator. So they're a provider and a mediator. But as a provider, they are, they are taking ads from people. You say to Google, hey, I want you to show my game. And that's essentially what we're doing. And then they're going to say, okay, these are the ads, and then I'm going to start going to people who are selling ad space, and I'm going to try to put their ads, your ads, into their game. What a mediator does is it looks at all these different providers, and it asks them who's providing the best bang for your buck. If Google comes to you and they're saying, hey, I'll show my ad in your game for 10 cents, and then let's say Facebook comes and they say, hey, I'll show my ad in your game for 20 cents, what an ad mediator does is they choose the best deal. So they'll go to Facebook and they'll say, oh, that's more money. Let's show their ad. And so that works out well for you. Black Vein Productions uses an ad mediator for our games. We use HeyZap for both of our games. So HeyZap is an ad mediator, and it's certainly something you should consider if you're showing ads inside your game. But these ad mediators interface with a variety of different providers, and you can actually go to those providers directly if you'd like to show your ads as part of their mediation suite for the games that they're integrated into. So what this means is you can go directly to HeyZap, Google, IronSource, Tapjoy, all these different ad providers, and you could actually provide your content directly to them. So they're another sort of tier of ad providers that you can go to if you don't want to go to social media. With all these different options, it can get a little bit confusing, right? If I'm showing ads on Facebook, Snapchat, Google Play, Tapjoy, etc., how do I know which one, and I'm seeing all these downloads, like how do I know which one's going to be most effective? How do I know the quality of those users? There's a number of other SDK integrations which can be used in order to surface those data insights. And so that's something I want to introduce you to now because I think it's also a really important part of the discussion. So probably the premier service for that is going to be called Adjust. And what Adjust does, I think, is best explained in their promotional video. I'm not sponsored by Adjust. I'm not being paid to show this to you. But when I was working at a company called Tilting Point, which is it's an indie game publisher, what we did was we helped people with their ad campaigns. We would use this as one of our SDK integrations in order to get insights with respect to where those users are coming from and which one's of the most value. So just check out their video. I think it'll explain it a little better than I can.
Your goal as an app marketer sounds simple. Growing your app by acquiring new users. But that's not always easy, and measuring where these users come from might be even harder. You need people who will engage with your app for a long time. And finding them means you're probably using many different channels and partners. You probably ask yourself these questions every day. Which marketing campaigns are performing the best? Where are my most valuable users coming from? What is the ROI of my app marketing? Adjust helps you answer these exact questions by tracking all your marketing campaigns in one platform. See marketing performance in real time, so you can spend more of your budget on campaigns that actually deliver results. All of it is powered with a single integration, giving you instant connections with the channels you're already working with. Your analysis doesn't end with an app install. That's why with Adjust, you can track any in-app interaction, whether that's a purchase, a level up, or a subscription. Our state-of-the-art cohort tool lets you drill into granular app user data from retention, LTV, event funnels, and more, all tied back to the install date and source. Make use of our audience builder to create custom segments that you can easily export